Hey, this is Max. Welcome back to another CSR2 video. So one of the questions I get asked a lot about CSR uh, playing is that what are good live racers and why are they good live racers? Well, I have thought a lot about making a video like this, but it's actually a lot more difficult than I expected when I started doing more organizing of garages to try to present these things. What it comes down to is that there are actually lots and lots of good cars for live racing for different reasons. And they require you to actually understand live racing and understand the cars and how they work to really capitalize on these cars for live racing purposes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you one introduction video now about cars to use in live racing. And this is what I call one category of live racers, not all the possible live racers. And this category is unique in that it doesn't require a whole lot of effort on tuning. These are what I call the natural dyno beating cars. Cars that are both good at matchmaking and generally just good at winning in live because they beat dyno from shift patterns and they beat dyno without having to play with tunes. So what are some of these cars? Let's kind of look at the group real quick here. I'm giving you some examples that I have access to. There might be others, but quite frankly, I haven't had time to drive every single car to find every single one. These are just ones I've driven before, used in live, and I know they work. NSX-R can run about a tenth under dyno right now under its current settings. And similar, I would say other legend car, the Countach, probably can do it too. But I didn't pick that for the purpose of this video. The In-Attack is a classic T4 that does the job the same as the NSX-R, but there is an important difference between the two, and that is one has lower performance point, higher Evo, the other beats dyno by more, but does it with slightly higher performance points and lower Evo, and that does have an impact on things, which I will address as I test run these cars. From the Tier 5 standpoint, there are quite a few good ones. The Vulcan, Ts1 Gt, LB Aventador, A12, Roush, I think it's actually pronounced Roush Mustang, F12 Tdf, Harkness's Elemento, Aventador Svj, and then some other cars. Now, these again, if you notice, comes with a variance, and it's not just a slight variance, it can be a decent amount depending on the car, both the PP point and the Evo points. So that does impact how the car specifically lobbies. But as far as the starting point, all cars are lobbied according initially to their dyno. But when you first go into live with the car for the first time, you are automatically put into a lobby at least one bracket slower than where you should be. So when the NSX-R was brought into live initially, it went right into a lobby where a 12.0 car ran against me. I ran a 11.8. Immediately thereafter, the computer says, okay, new lobby. You're actually 11.8 lobby, not 12.0. So understand that the first group of cars you run going into live with a brand new car that you never live raced before will be more favorable than once the computer gets an average run pattern out of your car. Now, the NSX-R has the advantage of very high Evo at a slightly lower PP point at stage 5 only. All the cars I'm going to show you are all stage 5 only. Part of the reason I didn't put stage 6s in is because for the discussion of this general category, each car's stage 6 effects impact how that car is affected for matchmaking when you bring it in. That's too detailed a discussion to do in one video because you have to know the stage 6 effects, the amount of performance points each stage 6 adds versus the amount of time it drops versus the Evo adds, and then you have to make calculated changes along with knowing what bracket within live that you're in. So that takes a lot more and analysis in a sense for me to discuss. Maybe I'll do that in a separate video if that's something you're interested in. But for now, we're talking about stage 5 only, and we're just talking about natural dyno beaters. All right, so this is actually kind of a cool match because Here we have, oh, he refused me. All right, I guess it's not a cool match. What I was going to say is this is a car that beats Dyno by more, but is harder to get higher Evo out of versus, say, where's that? Oh, you left. Okay. So versus, say, a car that beats Dyno by less, but usually runs slightly lower performance points and has high Evo. And cars like this also beats Dyno by some too. So all these are, I don't know why everybody's refusing me. It's not like I'm trying to, all right, you know what? Let's see, somebody will step up and actually race. So a lot of it comes down to, the actual setup on the car, the amount it can beat Dyno by, and the tune itself if they are setting it up to be dyno by more. But regardless of all that, just from a standard car standpoint, why this category of cars we're looking at, the natural dyno beaters, make good racers in live is because they don't require that much work to drive. You can drive it pretty much straightforward and do quite well. Now, I botched that run because I launched too early. But I did want to see what lobby I'm in. Now, he just ran a 11.671, so he's a pretty strong racer in this lobby. What I can do is I know I can do under that time. My car actually dynos at 11.7, but it runs a 11.6 when needed, so I could take him on again and actually potentially beat him. But by pushing the car in the beginning into lobby and then running it too hard, I'm actually going to hurt myself. So I don't really want to run 11.6s when I don't have to run 11.6s. And I suspect some of the other cars in here may not even run as good as that one. That's a pretty good run within this lobby. So again, this time I'm going to launch a little bit later to get near a perfect launch, and then I should be able to do well on this run. So here, I'm going to use nitrous relatively late, keep my car in the front, slow down, and let's see what he ran, what I ran. Now I lost, but there's a reason for that. I slowed down because I wanted to see how far he's pushing it. So he did a 11.726. I did a 11.76. Now my car dyno's 11.74, so now I'm still testing, but I know I'm in the right bracket. But I also know that in order for me to really exceed at this lobby, I probably have to run at least the slightly under, if not fully under my dyno. Over time, that's going to cost me because that's why you get bumped. Fortunately for me, this lobby may very well be somewhere between high 11.5s to high 11.7s. So it's kind of a weird in-between lobby. Not my favorite kind of place to be, but it is good enough to take on. Now, people know the NSX-R is a tough car to beat. That's why a lot of them won't race you. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Let me see if I can find somebody that's willing to take a chance. Well, the T5 was ready to go, but anyone, someone. All right, let's see if I can take a T5. Now, T5s, okay, refused again. Okay, this is turning into a much more difficult thing to do than I expected. I had anticipated people would race me and allow me to move forward, but NSX-R apparently has such a reputation that nobody wants to race you. I guess that's a problem too, right? It's a negative side effect of having a car that is known by people to be good in live. You get nothing but refusals. All right. Well, instead of wasting my time, let's go back and let's run the NSX-R in just to show what it actually can do, because obviously I didn't showcase it well in the live lobby since I got tons of refusals. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run it the best I can with the launch button and show you what actual time it runs. And it does run under dyno. Again, you need to launch it near perfect. And that was still a little bit off, which means it's going to hurt my time a little bit. But it doesn't mean that I cannot get a good run out of it. It just won't be as good. Okay, but it's not bad. All right, so what was the time? Remember that car that ran and beat us with the 11.6 run? Well, here here's the numbers, here's the last run I did. So I just wanted to kind of point out the car's capable of it. I just didn't want to start killing it right when I go into live lobby. Now, so that is the NSX-R. So obviously this car is feared. People know it. They won't race you in it. All right. Let's move on to something else which people would definitely race you in for the most part, the N-Attack. Now, the N-Attack, because it's higher performance point, lower Evo, it doesn't have the advantage that the NSX-R would, and it's, slower. So it won't lobby. This in-attack won't lobby with that NSX-R. They're just not on the same playing field as stage 5 only. So any in-attack you face in the NSX-R would have actually much higher PP point and probably higher Evo to kind of match up with you. At 11 something, you're pushing the car into a much higher group of competitors than at 12.9. So naturally, 12.9, I'm going to face different opponents. In this lobby, so to speak, you can face anything from some 13-second guys that are lobbied poorly down to, say, your 12.6 guys that are lobbied in with the 12.8 guys. So this is a pretty wide-ranging possibility here of opponents. Plus, anytime you see T5s in this lobby, they are not running full upgrades. They're probably set up either as a competitive runner with dyno busting, or they're just not fully built and they're stuck here because the car's barely built. So T5 is always a toss-up who you get. Here's a reverse combo, right? My in-attack against what I know to be a tough car to beat, the NSX-R. So which one is going to come out ahead? Well, the difference here is that the NSX-R will catch me near the end of the track, and it probably can beat me, but the in-attack actually can run more under dyno. And that makes a difference in the balance in that, in the end, I can still possibly win. Don't forget, the NSX-R here cannot even have full stage 5 to have that dyno. So in this dyno bracket, I am still competitive. Even though my car dyno is 12.9s, looks like I'm still in the 13-second lobby at the moment. I suspect that NSX-R probably outruns most of the people in here, given what I know about that card, unless it's just not fusioned out or set up properly. It did run out of steam a little early, so I'm curious about that. Let's try a Porsche. This car, again, also is a natural dyno beater. In fact, I should have brought this out as an example, and I forgot to. And this should be an interesting match. It really comes down to, again, the tuning and the driving of the car. So again, I actually shifted out of first a little early on my in-attack run. I'm going to do a little better this time. 35 is where you want to shift out. And then nitrous in third. Understand that the Porsche will start catching up as it gets near its top speed. It's coming at me. But again, I slow down, make sure that I didn't beat him by too much. I am still running somewhere near my dyno or under. Now understand that I can run way faster than this, and that's what, again, makes the in-attack a good and competitive car. However, that being said, because the Evo isn't that high, the PP is relatively high compared to an NSX-R, my chances of being bumped up with a in-attack is a lot greater than the NSX-R on a run-to-run basis. So the in-attack is one of those cars that if you can slow down, you should slow down. It'll keep you in a competitive lobby longer. But it is, in fact, a natural dyno beater, and therefore an easy car to simply set up at stage 5 only. This is stage 5 only, full fusion. I didn't even tweak parts to try to maximize, which you can do. But at just flat out stage 5, full fusion, it is a 12.9 dyno car that runs well under 12.9. Now understand, so far I haven't even run close to my dyno. I've been running slower than my dyno and winning. And as long as I'm doing that as much as possible, this car should not get bumped easily and will stay relatively competitive. But since I'm talking a lot about how much it can beat dyno, I should show you how much it can beat dyno so we're not just speculating here what it can actually do. Now, What this car actually will do is about a tenth plus under dyno to 2/10 under dyno, depending on how well I drive it and how well I activate the nitrous shift and all that fun stuff. But it definitely can run under that 12.9. And there it is. Let's see the results. 12.79. Okay. 12.99, 12.903 to 12.79 is about a tenth plus. That wasn't my best run either. I think mid to low 12.7s is quite possible without any change to this car and just driving it well. So a lot of these natural dyno beaters are high acceleration cars that ends up beating dyno partly because it's able to outrun its own technical specs in a sense in the game. Another classic example is the Ts1 Gt. Here also set at stage 5 only. The Ts1 Gt, interestingly, is set up kind of easy. And again, I'm going for as much Evo as possible here. I'm not really using a Evo drop tune like you've seen in some of my supply cup videos. What I'm really doing here is I'm just showing you that these are cars that will outperform itself without fine tuning. And this makes it easier to use for most players that I guess don't care much about playing with trick tunes. If you just like a car that's good, that tunes to max Evo and will run well, these are the kind of cars that this category falls in. These are natural dyno beating cars based purely on driving and does not require any specific tricks to beat the dyno. Now it does require you to use the shift patterns, and again, with each of these cars, it takes a few tries to truly get down the shift pattern. I'm not even sure fourth gear nitrous was the best option for that. I believe I can do better. Well, actually, you know what? Let's go try that in live. So this is a tier 5 car, and it dynos at 9.66 with no stage 6. So it's a relatively fast one, but not as quick as some that'll do 8.9s, right? So at this performance point, it has pretty good Evo of 1613. It should matchmake relatively well. That's not a guarantee, but it should still not be put into a lobby where it immediately faces 9.2 cars. It should still face cars that are within its bracket range. However, when you're getting into the 9s, 8s, that's where you're going to start facing some cars that may essentially be better set up than yours in specific tuning. And there are also dyno busters that run in these ranges that are 7-second cars running 9s. So keep that in mind. You're not going to win them all, and you can't win them all if you want to stay in a lobby. So I'm just giving you the possibility here. I'm not saying these are going to be definitely cars that'll wreck everybody. They can't. You just can't do that in this game for long without essentially losing out and getting beat. All right, so here I'm starting to get on nitrous, and I can slow back down. So again, since it runs 9.5s, it dynos 9.6. It's not hard to get under dyno with this car, and therefore I just easily took down that opponent. However, in these lobbies where you're already kind of on the faster end of the lobby, running too much under is definitely a risk. As much as possible, you want to keep the races close by slowing down a little bit, let them catch up, beat them by a hair. That'll keep your car in the lobby for much longer, and you'll stay competitive this way without having to reset the car. Okay, again, nitro dyno beaters generally only beat their dyno by about 2/10. So if you're starting off tuned to, middle of the lobby to the slower end of the lobby, even if you run all out, you may not get bumped out of the actual lobby either. But it's definitely a little trickier than some of the others. Now he disconnected, which means I don't need to run hard, and I'm not going to. I'm going to use this opportunity to either run slower or get a win with a slower run, but in this case it was a race abandoned. That didn't work out at all. We'll do one more race, then I'll move on to the next car. We got quite a few cars left here. But I don't like to just do one race and leave. It doesn't really demonstrate much. It also doesn't give me a good feel for what's in this lobby. I like to race at least 4 or 5 cars, average out what they're running to get a feel for where I'm supposed to be. This is not going to connect. I'm going to go back. All right, so had a little technical difficulty. I had to restart the game. Okay, back to live with the Ts1. So again, this time I had to go back out of the game, reload, go into a different lobby. So let's see if the game bumped me since the last race. When I had the technical difficulty, I didn't get bumped. I was kind of happy about that, but then I had to leave the game. All right. So here, we'll go ahead and run this. Now again, I'm watching my opponent. Once I pass him, I can slow down. I didn't slow down enough. This is probably too quick a run, quicker than I would like. All right, it's not too far off from my dyno, so that should still keep me somewhere within range. But notice my opponent ran a 9.8. I'm at 9.6. Again, having only stage 5 only and lower performance points actually makes my car somewhat more competitive matchmaking wise. And this is something you should keep in mind when you're building a car, to always keep the performance point as low as possible and keep the evo point high for the target performance range that you're looking for. Okay, let's try again here. See, that LB, if it was set up properly, should be quite good at catching up near the end, and it did not. It could be that the player who's using it is new to tuning it and obviously didn't have the car. Now, again, that's a second 9.8 car I've faced already. That tells me I'm probably in a 9.8 lobby. And I'm running 9.6s, which is kind of borderline pushing me faster into a faster lobby. So actually having that technical crash and coming back in didn't hurt me. I'm still in a very competitive lobby for this car. And knowing also that this car can actually run 9.5, everything's good, right? This is great. I have a live racer here that is only going to do well and very rarely have to worry about losing badly to someone, as long as everybody else is still within this bracket range. I'm not even shifting into 5th until the end here, just to sneak past them a little bit, and boom, done. Okay, all right. This guy's a little quicker, 9.6s. So in this lobby, you can see cars can run somewhere between 9.8 to 9.6. I haven't run into a 9.4 car yet, but if I do, chances are that guy is going to get bumped out of here if he runs more than once or twice, or more than 4 or 5 times, depending on his average at 9.4. Okay, so that was the Ts1 Gt, another natural dyno beater. Now you're starting to see, hopefully, a theme here with my presentation, which is these are all cars that can do well without really having to bust dyno, because the advantage of running a car with less upgrades at high evo is exactly that you're going to lobby pretty safely into where you're supposed to be, and you're not. That doesn't look right. Hopefully I didn't crash again. Can I leave? Okay, having a lot of technical difficulties this time with this video. I'm back in live. Let's see how things are. Running the Vulcan. This car is dynoing at 10.09. It really depends on what lobby I'm put in, but again, this is a stage 5 only, and this car can beat dyno by about 1/10 to 2, depending on how well I can actually drive it, of course. So here I'm pulling ahead, so I'm not going to shift into 5th until the other opponent almost catches up. And I only needed to run a 10.3 to win this, so I'm actually running about 0.2 plus slower than what the car's capable of. Again, this tells you cars like this with high evo points, low performance points, and beats dyno slightly can be quite competitive in a lobby like this. Now, that is an interesting look. Oh, it's a Porsche. It mixed my Vulcan with the Porsche. That was an interesting looking car there. Not a nice looking one necessarily, just interesting. Okay, so this is generally a pretty competitive car in this lobby. This is a Porsche 4S, which actually is one of the dyno beating cars that doesn't require a whole lot of special tuning. So let's see how it fares against the Vulcan. It's doing good so far, keeping up with me. Is it going to pull past me? No. And I didn't even have to go into fifth to go ahead and take that win. So again, the lobby seems to be a 10.3 lobby. So all the problems I've been having getting kicked out of the game and crashing hasn't hurt the lobby matchmaking for this car. So it tells you this car, even though it dynos 10.09, is currently favorably placed into a little bit of a slower lobby. And then you have the ability to actually beat dyno if you needed to. So it is extremely competitive. And this is kind of the case with this car until you get closer to a more maxed situation where the higher PP points take away some of the benefit of or advantage of the dyno beating. Okay, so that's at least 2-3 runs with the Vulcan. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This way we can keep showcasing the next live racer in this category. All right, so let's move on to the next one. All right, so that was the Vulcan. Let's move down the list here of the cars that I've selected. This is one of my all-time favorites, the LB Aventador Coupe. Many of you have seen me on my actual gaming accounts running this car in live. This one as stage 5 only, full fusion, I'm seeing a 9.3. Now, I usually actually run this car in the 10-second lobby, not the 9.3 lobby. That does not mean that it can't be competitive in this lobby. Just in that one, I have the car set up even with less upgrades, which make it even more competitive from a lobby standpoint. So that car in the 10-second lobby, or this car, I should say, in the 10-second lobby, have won hundreds of races for me. And sometimes I lose, I shift wrong where I slow down too much, but generally speaking, it's been consistently working in those lobbies. Now this one's pretty new. I just brought it into the lobby. So the question first is, are my lobbied according to my dyno, or I'm actually lobbying a little bit slower in the 9.5, 9.6 lobby? Let's see what happens. Going up against the F1, which is, again, a good car. And off I go. And I am way ahead. So I need to slow down quite a bit. I suspect I'm in like the 9.7 run range on that one. 9.8, and he only ran a 9.9. Now, he could have been running slow because, he's doing the swap thing, or he may not have been. But understand that I'm running like 3/10 slower than what the car dynos. So that partially is because the car is just brought into live for the first time. So I'm at least one lobby slower than where it should be, which makes sense. 9.8, I have a 9.5 dyno. That's one lobby slower. So after a run or two, I may get pushed up to the proper lobby, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be in a lobby where I'm going to lose. So that's the good news. Now, it could have been also that car was a fluke. It was just super slow, and therefore that's why I'm here. Here, I'm just kind of running slow to see where I'm at. Let's see. This guy looks like he ran a 9.4, 9.5 run, though. 9.361. All right. Well, let's go ahead and take that on. Was my dyno 9.3? Maybe my dyno was 9.3. I'm kind of getting confused here. All right. Let's run him this time all out because I know the LB shouldn't lose to the SVJ. Upgrade for upgrade, the LB is definitely competitive. Okay, this time we're going to go ahead and shift into each gear properly. No holding back. Well, a little holding back. I ain't going to 7th, but that should be a 9.2 something run. 9.315, good enough to go ahead and get that win. All right, so LB Aventador, definitely one of the better cars all around in live without having to tweak the tune. This is running full Evo on a stage 5 full fusion. Again, It is relatively new to this lobby, so it could be that I'm just lobbying very favorably here. But nonetheless, this is one of the dyno busters that doesn't require really any work to do it. And here, I'm not even shifting into 7th, where it can actually do substantially better than its dyno. Since I wasn't sure what my dyno was, let's go back and go ahead and confirm that real quick. I thought it was 9.3 or 9.5. Oh, no, 9.3. So I barely had to run different than my dyno to beat that race. And then here I'll go ahead and run it all out and you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is a max evo tune. No specific tuning differences than just having full evo, full fusions and full evo tune. And this time I'll go into 7th and you'll see that running into 7th gear, this car actually runs substantially quicker than what its dyno says. All right, so this is a beast when it comes to live for that reason, and it does it all the way until it's fully maxed, basically. So it can really have more upgrades and still be competitive, but at some point, when this gets over like 704, 705, your lobby matchmaking is not as favorable. So keep that part in mind. Okay, that was the LB Aventador. Let's go look at an older car. This is the A12 Superfast. Now the Superfast, again, also beats Dyno by a bit. Um, it's a great car, Ferrari, but same thing, stage 5 only, 9.9 dyno, and doesn't really require any specific trick in tuning. We can take a look at it, confirm that it is not running any stage 6s, stage 5 only. Pretty fast, but not as quick as the LB, which is 9.3 at the same or 1 point different performance point. So the LB actually are facing completely different opponents than the Superfast. Now, how I'm going to know if I'm actually lobbying favorably is if I see any cars in here from T4 other than the ones that can beat 10 seconds, which would be the NSX-R and some of the others, then I'm obviously doing very well lobby-wise. If I only see T5s, I'm probably in a faster lobby than I would want to be in, and that's fine too, but it just tells you, right, looking at the lobby makeup, what kind of a lobby you're in, especially when you're sitting on the border of 10 seconds. It's very easy to gauge if you are bumped up a little or you're still in a competitive lobby. Okay, so here we go. You only see 9-second NSX-R in the lobby, meaning I'm not seeing any of the 10-second cars like the 350Z Veilside, nor do I see anything like the slower car. So I'm probably in an actual 9.9 and faster lobby, meaning I will see cars that could run as fast as 9.7. So that means I may have to run all out with this car to get what I want out of it, but let's find out. So the Superfast is not a bad car. Um, it's relatively quick, but it also can get, again, under dyno by a bit, enough usually to still eke out wins in this lobby. However, despite the fact that it has relatively low performance points, and oh, I didn't even run under dyno that time, but despite the fact that you have relatively low here and okay here, matchmaking can be tricky with this car. It's probably in the right lobby area. Don't forget we have a 9.9 dyno. I must have forgotten how to shift it because I should have gotten better than a 10.0. Okay, let's see here. I'll run someone else. Let's run this one lost. Oh, somebody challenged me, even better. All right. Okay, now this thing's gonna shoot out when it launches, but then it tops out real fast. So the real question is how quick will it take me to catch up to it? So let's try this. Here we go. And off we go. Now, again, I barely beat him. Probably have to go back and figure out the shift pattern again. I know I can do better than that. All right, so That was 10-second lobby, 10-1, mostly 10-0s. Of course, that NSX-R might be running 9.8s. So if I challenge that car, I may not be actually winning, especially since I haven't figured out how to get under 10s yet, even though my dyno's better than 10. And I know this car can, in addition to that, beat dyno a little bit. I think I better launch late. That launching slightly early thing's hurting me. I'm going to launch slightly late on the late side or right on perfect. It should help me with getting a better run. Shifting from car to car can be difficult to keep up with which one does what. Okay, here we go. There should be a better run, although no guarantees, but and again, I was ahead, I slowed down. I don't want to bust dyno unless, yeah, so there you go, 9.89, and I slowed down a little bit. I didn't get into the final gear. So that's what it was. If I launched too early, I actually hurt my run a little bit. Here you can see it's starting to get under. That's not much, my dyno's right around that, so it's not like I went way under, but it's just a little bit enough margin there all the time for you to at least be able to win. However, pushing it in any case could bump you. So it's, but the Superfast is a good car. I always liked it. Have quite a bit of mileage on my actual Superfast in the game on my main play account. Okay, so those are about 6 cars that we just looked at. Let's look at one or two. Actually, let's get to SVJ. Roush Mustang. The problem with this car is stage 5 only is that its performance points are not super high, but it's a little bit higher, 1 point higher than some others. But this is relatively low, and it doesn't seem to lobby advantageously, but it also beats dyno, so it's kind of a toss-up. But this car also bumps easily. So this is a tricky car to really get a feel for in live, although I know that it can beat dyno by at least 0.2. Therefore, it is competitive coming out of the box. It's just that I don't know how long you're going to stay competitive using it. Okay, so here this car is also slower, so you're going to see a lot more T4s at stage 5 only. Let me see if I can find one that is ready to go. Let me try this guy with his Shark. Now the Shark can be dyno, but it's harder to use. All right, so it didn't connect. Let's try real, yeah. This is going to be a real tough one for me. From looking at the NSX-R earlier that it is, not only does it lobby well, it runs under dyno slightly too. So this should be, for all intents and purposes, a tough race. And I hope it is because it'll be more fun. But I still have a chance. It shouldn't be so dominating that I just cannot win, but it definitely may be a closer race than I would like, or not. Oh, or yes. Oh, whoops, I slowed down too much. All right, let me see what he ran first, though. All right, 10.3. I know that the Mustang's dyno is around that. I have to check it again, but I also know that I slowed down a lot to let him win, so I can, in fact, take him down if that 10.3 is the best it can do. So let's try again, if he accepts. No. Okay. Congratulations. You can take that win. Let's move on to somebody else. Okay, these guys, oh, okay. Let's see who this is. Oh, another NSX. All right, this one I'm not going to hold back. Hopefully his is not better than the other one because I know the other one only ran a 10.3 and 10.3s wouldn't be all that much hard work for me to hit. Okay, let's go. Okay, this time I'm not slowing down too much until the very end, so I can beat him without having to worry about him catching up. But notice how fast it's coming up on me at the end there. All right, 10.305 against 10.401. So again, controlling the car, but still getting those wins. That's what it's all about with these natural dyno beating cars. So again, Roush stage 3, good car. Here I'm going up against a car that can be tuned to crush dyno by a few tenths easily. So the question is he running that tune or not? And how hard is he want to push it? All right, let's try it. Okay, 2. And I'll use nitrous fourth this time because I think it's actually better on fourth. And slow down, speed up. I think he beat me. Yep, slow down a little too early. It was a close run. 10.326. Okay, so that's how you lose, right? You try to keep it close sometimes. You slow down and then people edge past you. That's not a big deal. Remember, I'm using these cars initially in lobbies. I'm trying to keep them somewhere in a reasonable range where I'm not going too quick. Going slightly slower helps, but going too slow doesn't help you much either. Okay. All right, so one last run. Huracans, again, if you don't tune it to beat Dyno, it doesn't beat Dyno. So that's one of the other categories we'll talk about in another video. But here, I'm going to see how well I can do against them. Okay, here we go. Catching up. With cars like that, once you pass them, they're not going to pass you again because he's already topped out. So once I pass him, I downshift, I just pace him all the way to the end, and that was a relatively easy win. Okay, so let's move back to lobby, move on to the next car. I'm sure some of you would love to see the Sesto Elemento in action. After all, we all fight hard to beat Tempest 3 so we can get a hold of that Sesto, and it is known to be one of the better boss cars. But I think we have one more car before we hit the Sesto, plus I need to add some gas. Okay, right, here we go. All right, I changed my name here. It says see you on YouTube because anybody I'm racing with these live cars will end up on YouTube with this video. That's why I changed the name. Also, for some reason, the game keeps resetting Mysterious Stranger. Maybe it's not a name that I should be using. Sounds too much like something that may be questionable, I guess. Okay, next car in the list, F12 Tdf. Another Ferrari. This is like the super fast, an older car, but boy, it runs well. Now, I think the problem here is I got the shift pattern of this one and the Tdf confused. Not Tdf, what am I saying? Now I'm confusing the two cars. The A12 and the Tdf, I got the shift patterns crossed. I was shifting the super fast like the Tdf, and now I'm probably going to shift the Tdf poorly because now I'm thinking about the super fast. But anyway, the Tdf, just like the super fast, stage 5 only, doesn't run as fast, but dyno slower, runs fast. That's the key. This car is also a natural dyno beater, and it will also easily run through and get a good run. But this one, I think, I don't shift early. Like I just run it out the way it should be run out, like this, and it should run well. Although maybe I'm wrong there. Let's see what I ran first. Oh, I only ran dyno. No wonder. Okay. All right, so that's not good. So this is the car I need to shift out of the gears early, perhaps. And the other one was the one that I got to run all the way through. Okay, let's try again. All right, another same or different NSX-R. I can't even keep track anymore. Let me see if I can get it done correctly this time. Okay, here we go. Here. Let's see if this is the way it should be shifted. Apparently so, because it's going a little faster, but not good enough to win. All right, let's see. Still running 10 flat? Or 10 twos? What am I doing wrong here? I am not getting under dyno, because I know I ran a 9.9 with this car earlier. Let me think here. Maybe the nitrous. It should be right. All right, well, take one more run. Retro 8 is doing good. And I am barely running under dyno. I know this car does run under dyno, though. Hold on a second. Too many cars, too many shift patterns. Let's go back and take a look at this. What am I doing wrong here? All right, so you see all that tire spinning with the early nitrous? That's probably not helping it to get that much faster. So that runs dyno. And that means really this should be probably a fourth gear nitrous car. Let me see what the nitrous duration is. Yep. All right, let me try the next method. I know I can beat dyno with it, so the question is, why am I not beating dyno with it? Getting that shift pattern down is one of the important factors. Okay, all right, that did better. So I'm going to go to fifth gear nitrous and see if I can push this into even better spot, because that definitely could have done better. Now, it could be also I need to run the gears through and then use fifth gear nitrous. Let's take a look with full shifts. Two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. There you go, 10-0. Okay, so there's my almost 2/10 there. There you go. All right, so that's what I was doing wrong. Let's go back. I was hitting nitrous a little too early. I could probably get it even faster if I really tweak this some more, but I knew this car could do about 2/10 under dyno, so that kind of shocked me when I was unable to do it. But it seems that I was hitting nitrous a little on the early side. Okay, let's go back to the lobby. Let's go ahead and get this done. Different lobby, not necessarily a bad thing. I don't think I got bumped up though. We'll see. Let's run somebody. There we go, Iron 73. Okay, this car also runs under dyno if you shift it right. Although at this level of upgrade, it might be a little tougher to do, but it definitely can get at least a tenth or two under dyno. So this could be a full out battle going down the track. Okay. Oh, and he disconnected. I was so concentrating on shifting, I didn't even see him disconnect. Okay. All right. And I won. So I guess he didn't disconnect quick enough. I still got the win, but he definitely disconnected. Okay. Live racing problems at full display here. 5K, huh? Now, that car could very well beat me. I'm having a little fun here, but uh, that's a 10-0 car if it's fully maxed, which may not lobby with this group though. So I have hope that I am going to at least have a fair fight here. But again, knowing that I can run probably close to 10-0 something, it's a worthy. Oh no! Don't tell me he disconnected too. It's a worthy challenge at least. Come on. That'll be the second disconnect in a row. Um, Not counting my other problems so far, just trying to make this video. Yeah, I think he's out. Okay, well, the question is whether he disconnected quick enough for this to be a voided race, or it's still going to be a win for me. That's a voided race. So he disconnected when he accepted rather than when we got into the actual lobby there. Ah, boy, this is why live racing is frustrating. All these problems between connecting, disconnecting, failing, locking up, car getting bumped over, different lobbies, right? All these issues. Who wants to race? Okay, all right. Hey, that's the car I was about to get to. The Sesto Elemento. This should be an interesting race, assuming his car's set up at the same dyno that I have or close. It could be a very tight race. All right, let's go. Here we go. Yes, 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 I got it. Yep. And it was a tight race, as I expected, because the Sesto lobbies well, and I had to run pretty hard to beat him. Now, mind you, that he didn't run as fast as I thought, but he was keeping it so close at the end, I couldn't really risk slowing down. Therefore, I kind of broke my dyno by quite a bit there. That could have its implications, though. I may get bumped. So I'm still in the same lobby. That's good. So the next race, I need to be a lot more careful not to run another 10-0 something, but rather try to keep it tighter and run maybe a 10-3, 10-2. It depends on who I'm running against, of course. Let's see. I could run him or run another NSX. Oh, well, decision's been made for me. That's a 650S. That's a tough car to drive well. I have a feeling he's not going to run very well unless that's a fully maxed one that he's got tuned down for this, which I seriously doubt it. So let's go ahead and see. Now it can accelerate pretty quick, but again, at the end of the track, it's topped out and it's stuck there. So didn't do too bad. 10.3. I did a 10.1 again. He was so far ahead of me that I couldn't really slow down enough, and that's kind of the issue with this car and also the Superfast. Both of these are a little bit tougher to manage when you're trying to keep the runs slower and at a more quote reasonable part of your dyno bracket, but practice makes perfect. None of these cars are impossible to adapt to. This one, if I can accept, I would love to run them. If I can, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Now, this is where I'm worried because if it's not letting me accept a otherwise acceptable race, that means the lobby has already decided, or the computer has already decided I need to get bumped. And off I go. It's going to be a new lobby. Notice it's searching for a whole new lobby. So because I was running faster than I should for more than a few races, uh, it's kind of saying, look, man, you got to go. Okay. It could also be a connection issue. Before I finish with this car, let's go once back into lobby to see. I suspect I got moved to a faster lobby. And I didn't, which is good. So that's good. Whew. All right. All right. So that was just a connection issue. Let me see if I can challenge him because it's not like I didn't want to accept the challenge. It just didn't work. Now let's see if he can accept the challenge because it may not work on his end. See, now it's like the reverse situation, I think. He's probably looking at a screen where he has no accept button. Yeah, all right. All right, so it's a mutual issue. We can't accept each other's race. Okay, fair enough. This is already a very long video, so let's go ahead and finish up with the last two cars I was about to discuss in this category, both of which are good cars, both of which I also raced already in live. One is the Svj, and one is Harkness Sesto Elemento. The Sesto is one of the fastest Tier 5s that you can get for free. Not the fastest anymore, I think, but one of the fastest. But a stage 5 only. Again, I haven't really bothered to push into the stage 6 arena. It is only a 10.161 car. Doesn't make it a bad car. It is still a competitive car. It just isn't as fast as, say, some cars like the LB Aventador. Okay, so let's go into lobby and let's see what we run into. Now, the 10-second lobby, the good news is it's very competitive. A lot of racers, a lot of guys that are willing to race, a lot of guys that won't swap with you. And sometimes there'll be guys like this swapping themselves, which I do too. So nothing wrong with that. Let's go ahead and get some racing done. Okay, the Regera runs 2/10 under dyno when it's launched perfectly. However, the Regera has an issue of getting moved very quickly in lobbies when it runs perfectly. So it's a good car that has some miserable problems when it comes to maintaining a competitive lobby. Not to say that, it's bad. What did I do wrong here? I did something wrong. Oh, my shift pattern probably didn't work. Let me see here. Yeah, 10.4. I did a poor shift pattern there. Let's Let's go ahead and do that again. I shifted like the LB Aventador, which I shouldn't have. The Sesto, you actually want it to run through the gear. Now Caesar here, I raced him before, I'm pretty sure. I think his car runs like 9.7s or 9.8s in this lobby. Let's see. Let me just find someone else to take a run with. So it's a 10.1 dyno, which runs 9.9 lobby. That's perfectly normal. Nothing wrong with that. But then again, it also means the Sesto doesn't have a super beneficial lobby matchmaking. Okay, here we go. Queen of swaps. All right, so this time I'm going to try to not screw up the drive as much, which means letting the gears run a little deeper. Okay, let's see. I'm not keeping enough margin here. What am I doing wrong here? So again, I forgot how to drive this car. I'm going to have to go back and figure it out. It should do better than that. I know it can do 9.9s, but here's the thing. If I'm running 9.8 opponents with a 10-second car, it's probably not lobbied too favorably here. 10.1, 9.8. I think even if I did better with the Sesto, it's not going to hit 9.8s. It might hit 9.9s. 2/10 is about where it's at. So that kind of means the Sesto, unfortunately, at least this one, which I don't remember how much mileage is on it. I don't think much, if any. A little bit of racing on it. May not be in the most favorable lobby at this point. So the Sesto, though, does beat Dyno. I mean, 10.161, you just saw me run a 10.0 something, almost 9.9. So it's not terrible, but it's just not in a lobby where it's doing extremely well. Now, that may be fixed by just simply removing a little something part-wise to bump it down one more lobby, which will make it possibly more competitive. So something like this, where the PP level gets lowered another few points, may be able to get us what we want competition-wise. So let's give that a shot and see if I can make the Sesto a winner here. Okay, so it moved me to that other lobby I was in earlier with cars that may be a little bit slower. These are possibly 10.3 cars, but then by taking out a stage of tire, I've also slowed down the Sesto into this lobby. So now the question is it competitive here? All right, let's see. Tricky. It won, but I mean that was not my best run either. Again, shift pattern is very important. I haven't quite figured it out. So here, slower dyno puts it in a more competitive lobby. So it's just a little bit of a difference between where you start and where you end. But again, this is a pretty good car. Not the best, certainly, but not bad. So you just have to kind of tweak it into a lobby where it's going to be more competitive. Again, because it's one of the slower stage 5 only cars, running only 10s at full stage 5, it makes it slightly less competitive compared to, say, the LB, which does 9.3 at stage 5 only. Even if you slow that car to 10.0, you'll be running much lower points here. It'll lobby far more competitively. Although, let's take a look at what our dyno said and see where my run was. So yeah, so I did run again under dyno to get that win, and that was kind of tight. This is a 10.4. You could probably tweak it to try to get a little more out of it. But again, the Sesto is a little difficult to get to the most optimal point of being able to win easily. Not to say it's a bad car. It's certainly good and certainly one of the best boss cars. And it just takes a little bit of practice maybe to get the hang of the shift pattern, which I forgot. And that's the main thing, though. With these dyno beating cars, shift pattern is quite important. And the same goes for the final car, which I will go through, and that is the SVJ. Now, this car should also be dynoing around the same as the LB. They're very close, but notice the difference. This is a lot higher PP points, and the Evo points are similar, versus the LB, which has lower PP points and very high Evo, matchmaking will be less favorable to the SVJ, even though it is also full stage 5. But this is one of the definite cars that can be competitive in this class. Okay, again, shift pattern, I don't quite remember. I'm going to just wing it. And then, you know, figure it out later when I get back to the lobby. So again, these are completely different opponents because of running 9.3, 9.4 dynos. Let's see. Oh, let's take on. Oh, lost that chance. I was going to say let's take on the LB Aventador, which will be an interesting challenge to kind of compare the two cars. But instead, we'll go ahead and take on a Sesto Elemento. SVJ, unlike the LB, does not need to be launched early. It can do the regular launch, late nitrous. I am kind of winging it here and just to see if I can stay ahead of that Sesto, which I did. What did we end up with? 9.5, 9.5. So actually, I think I haven't run this car in live because that's really, or I got a slow opponent. Let's go ahead and race someone else. I should be in the 9.4, 9.3 lobby with cars running somewhere in the 9.4, 9.3 range, although 9.5 isn't out of the reality of this bracket. Let's try somebody different. Oh, okay. He'll take me on. That's fine. Now the SVJ, again, it can definitely run under dyno. So that 9.4 can be a 9.2 with the right shift pattern, assuming I can remember what it is, but it just, you know, even if I kind of wing it, I should be able to at least run pretty good in this lobby. Let's take a look here. And 9.507, not the greatest run, but that would have been at least a dyno run. Let's go back to dyno tuning so I can kind of refresh my memory on the shift pattern on stage 5. Or we race someone else first. All right, one last race. I am getting a little tired here. I've been at this for quite a while, so you know my brain is slowing down here, and that's why the shift patterns are all escaping me. Okay, let's go. All right, I'm trying another shift pattern again just to see where it goes. Obviously, something's working here because I am winning, but it's not exactly the shift pattern I was thinking of. But you know, again, I'm running pretty slow. I'm winning, so that's a good sign. But then that could be because this car is still relatively fresh. Okay, let's go back to lobby and back to the dyno room if I can, which I should be able to. Oh, here we go. And let's see if we can show the exact difference between dyno and what this car can actually do. And this will be the final test runs to just kind of cap off what we're talking about here, and then I'll summarize all this discussion that we've been kind of getting lost on. Okay, so I'm using the live launch button because it only makes sense with these cars to talk about them in live if you use the launch button. If you're launching them without the launch button, you can use that to kind of figure out the shift patterns, but then you have to also adapt to the launch button when the time comes. All right, so I've been using nitrous in 5th, which I think is where I should be using it. Let's see what the actual run is. 9.325. Now, that is not the greatest change. That's only a 10th. So let me give it another shot with maybe 4th gear, nitrous, because I know that the card should get about 2/10 under. That's where most of these cars that are naturally able to get under dyno, that's where their strongest at is about 2/10. All right. And no, still 9.3s. All right. I'm not going to beat my head against it. It could be that I remembered it wrong, and it is, in fact, about a 10th. But I could have swore that most of these cars, I picked them partly because I can get 210s under with them. So these are good live racers in the sense that, again, they beat Dyno without any real tuning strategy. They make it easier for most players since you don't have to worry about finding the way to tweak the tunes to get under that dyno. Although shift pattern, you do have to figure out the shift pattern. A lot of these can use a variation on a Foley Max car shift pattern. So if that's one of the ways you could research it, you can go on YouTube, look at the Max car shift pattern, and then find out what gears where if you shift too quick out of it, it doesn't work. Slow it down, tweak it, and then you can still get a pretty good overall result out of it. But understand stage 5 only. Certain stage 6 upgrades to Foley Maxed, the shift pattern will change. It won't be identical to generally to the Foley Max shift pattern. All right, so this was a very long video with a lot of showcasing rather than pure discussion of details of how to do anything. The thing I'm doing here is I'm showing you that you don't need fancy tuning to do well in live with certain cars, and this is one group of them. This is what I call, again, generally the natural dyno beating cars. Once you get beyond these cars, you will start having to really get into tuning to get the car to beat dyno and structure a car that will allow you to win in live. Or you'll have to rely on what I call the low performance point high evo cars. Those don't beat dyno, but they lobby so well that they can still win. That's another category we'll talk about in a different video. Now, if anything in this video gives you pause or raises questions for you, feel free to ask them. I'll try to answer them whenever I can. And if you have a better shift pattern, or you know that you have done way more margin with these cars, feel free to share them with other viewers so that people can get the best out of the cars they have. I hope you liked the video. Feel free to leave a response as to any opinions you have, whether you like it, dislike it, or you have other questions. If you like my videos and you want to get notifications when I put up new videos, subscribe so you can get those notifications. And as always, thank you for watching my videos. I'll catch you next time.